Hey Kevin here, Mr. DIY Dork from DIYDork.com. Today I'm going to show you how to make a dry erase board using really low cost repurposed materials. The other cool thing is that you can customize it, make it look exactly like you want. It doesn't just have to be white like every dry erase board you see. So check this out. This is a really cool low cost project. Now, ever since I built this wall-mounted stand-up desk in my office, I've been wanting some dry erase boards to write ideas so that they're always in my face. So what I did is I went around town and I found the biggest ones I could. I got this one at Target, it was about 20 bucks, and I found that one at Walmart later on for 20 bucks as well. They're both about 2 feet tall, 3 feet wide, and they're okay, but for the price I paid, I figured that I could make something just as big for a lot lower cost that was actually a little better quality. Now, when I bought this one right here, had these little dents in it, and it does have a little tray that's pretty flimsy, and it only mounts with 2 screws on the wall, so it's actually fallen off before, and I put a dent in our wood floors. This one here that I found at Walmart, it's okay. The problem with it is that especially I found that this green dry erase marker, it doesn't really stay on very well. Let me see if I can kind of show you. The marker breaks, I guess you could say. You know, it doesn't really stick on there very well. And the whole thing is actually bowed out from the wall a little bit. So it's just really low quality stuff. And it works okay, and I've been using them. As you can see, I haven't filled up with tons of ideas. But I figured I could make something a little better. So when I was thrifting over the last couple of weeks, I saw an idea and I just knew I had to make it. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Now, normally when I go thrifting or I go to garage sales, I'm looking for big pieces of furniture that I can flip, or maybe even big mirrors that have good frames to them. I can flip those as well. And I see picture frames all the time, and I've never really thought of a good way to turn them into anything else. Well, this past week when I got fed up with my $20 dry erase board not performing very well, I saw this at Salvation Army. Now, it was 10 bucks. You can see the little tag there. And I think I might have paid a little too much for it. I think if I would have waited another day or so, I probably could have got it for half price. But I just snapped it up real quick because I just knew the perfect idea for this. And, like I said, you see these all the time at thrift stores or at garage sales or whatever. They're so cheap, it'd be the perfect dry erase board if we do a little bit of work to it. Now, this one has kind of a cheesy little eagle motif here. But that's okay. We don't need that at all. We're really just looking for the glass. So what I'll do is I'll show you a really simple dry erase board you can make out of this, and then one that just involves just a little bit more work, but can be totally custom to make it look exactly like you want. And we'll just utilize this whole thing. So for mine, 10 bucks, it's half the price, but it's the same size as these, and it's gonna look a lot nicer, and it's gonna perform a lot better. So let's get started, and I'll show you how simple this really is. All right, now if you do decide to go ahead and get one of these, before you actually buy it, you wanna make sure the glass is in really good condition. There's no cracks, and especially no little chips in it, because when you write over the marker with that, it'll probably stay and be really hard to clean out. So make sure it has good glass. And then if you are going to use the frame, make sure it's in good shape too, that it's strong and it's not cracked or wobbly. And the other thing you want to look at is how the whole thing is mounted in the back. And I have to say, mine's a little goofy. They just have some staples in there and a couple of nails. So I'll have to work out something a little better than that. But I'll show that to you later if you're interested in that. But for the first little part of this video, I'll just show you how to make this like the most easiest, simple dry erase board ever. So check this out. Now, if you just want to keep it super clean and simple, all you have to do is take out the backing with the print here with the eagle, and then just pull out the glass from the frame, and then just clean this puppy up with a little window cleaner. Wipe it up, make sure there's no fingerprints whatsoever. You're going to want to clean both sides. Another little trick is that paper towels do tend to leave gunk behind a little bit, and old newspaper or newsprint will work really well to clean up with no little paper thingies left on it. So just take it out, and then you have your good piece of glass, and then all you need are these little mirror hangers that you use to hang like flat mirrors in a bathroom, and just put it up on your wall. Say you got white wall, or even if you have a colored painted wall, whatever you want, and then you just hang it up to these and you're done. Boom, you have a piece of glass, you can write on it, it works fine. Now if you want to get a little more intricate and custom, I'll show you that next. All right, now if you do want to go custom with your dry erase board, one thing you can do is just roll paint it with regular house paint like you use on the walls. You can use any color you want as long as you roll the back side. And one thing you definitely want to do is make sure that you clean this thing really well, because just like at a wedding, if you don't clean now, you're forever going to look at fingerprints. So make sure there's absolutely no little, dust particles or fingerprints or anything like that. This roll paint on, it's probably going to take about 3 or 4 coats, but it will turn out really nicely. And actually I have a sample right here. You can see the back side has a little bit of texture. I don't know if my camera will pick it up, but it has a little bit of the texture of the roller, but I made sure to smooth it out because a lot of times when you roll, the edges of the roller will leave lines, so I made sure to smooth those out. And the back side has texture, but then when you look at the front, it's nice and smooth and it works really great. Okay, so you can do that. The other option is you can spray paint it. Now this one looks kind of sloppy, but I sprayed it white, and then I thought, well, I wonder if I sprayed a little bit darker color if it would even show through. And as you can see, of course right there I had a paint peel, but this section up here, you can't see it through there, so it blocked it out really nicely. And of course the spray paint will spray smoother, but it is a little bit harder to get a smooth finish because when you spray it kind of gets spotty, but it's the same thing. You do about 3 or 4 coats and it'll smooth out just fine. All right, so if you just want a solid color, that'll work great. You can roll it or you can spray it. Now if you want to do a graphic design, I recommend spraying, and I'll show you why. Okay, I have 2 designs right here, and of course they look like a different color, but they, it's not the big thing here. But this one here, this bigger one, I roll painted it, and I don't know if it'll show, but you can see it has a little texture to it. And then I peeled off the tape, and then I sprayed it the silver for the little silver stripes on it. Now this one here, the smaller one, I spray painted it white, and then of course my white ran out, so I ended up using that light blue that I showed you earlier. And then I peeled off tape, and then I sprayed silver again. And you can see they turned out really nice. The one thing is that the roll painted glass, I don't know if it's going to show in the video, but the very edges here are a little rough. You can tell that paint had seeped under the tape when I roll painted it. When I spray painted it, these are really nice and crisp, clean lines. So if you are going to do design, like I said, I'd recommend spray painting. And that's what I'm going to do with mine. So let me show you how I do it. All right, so I decided to go with the design on my dry erase board, similar to the background I use in a lot of my videos. And I'm just using this 1/4" painter's tape that I found at the hardware store, laid it out in my design, real simple design. And then I used my squeegee to make sure that everything was laid down really flat and it adhered really well to the glass, because otherwise it will leak. Another major leaking spot is anywhere where tape crosses over another piece. It kind of bridges over and it'll leave a gap. So I like to take the corner of my squeegee and just work all those spots and make sure it's smushed down, because otherwise it will leak paint. So now that I got all the tape down, I'll just go over it again real quick, make sure all the fingerprints are totally gone, because they will show if we don't clean them before paint. And then I'm gonna take it outside and I'm gonna put a base coat of white on there, so I'll do that next. Right, so I ended up putting about 4 coats of this white paint on there, and I made sure that it totally dried, because if it's even remotely wet, it'll just peel big chunks of paint off there because that glass is so slick. So now I'm just peeling off the tape, just being real careful with it, trying not to rip any of the edges, and it may produce a little bit of paint flecks right on the edge of the tape. So you want to make sure that before we spray the second color that you wipe all of them clean, or otherwise you're going to see them when you spray the other color on top. So let me peel this, and then we'll start working on the second color. Alright, now that I peeled all the tape off, I cleaned it up and I let the paint cure, so it's definitely nice and solid now. So now it's time to spray the second color. So all I'm going to do is just spray over the exposed lines. You don't even have to cover the whole thing. And I'll just put on a couple light coats and build it up to about 3 or 4 coats till it's totally solid. And then we can flip this thing over and it'll be ready to go. And we only have to deal with the frame after that. Alright, and then the last thing I did was I just took out the frame, I just lightly sanded it, and I sprayed it with this really cool kind of matte teal color. And I didn't completely spray it so that it kind of had an old distressed look to it. So I'll let that dry, and then we can put everything together. Alright, so I brought everything back inside, and of course I have it upside down, and I put it back in the frame. It's not the prettiest thing, but it's okay because you don't actually look at that side. So now it's time to say goodbye to the eagle. And I'm just going to put this poster board back on the back side of this to help space it and help hold the glass in there. Alright, and then I'm just going to use my staple gun just to shoot at an angle kind of like they originally had, but I'm going to use shorter staples that will hold better. And I'm not going to use nails or anything like that. So I'll staple this around. This thing should be in there real good, and I'll show you what it looks like all finished. Alright, and check it out. Turned out really awesome. Not too shabby for a $10 thrift store find. And this thing actually works a lot better than the other ones I have that I wasn't too happy with. The marker shows up really nicely on the glass, and then it cleans up really easily. And I think I forgot to mention, but another idea I have is you don't have to use a frame like this, even if it came with one. I'm using it because it already has the hangers, and I thought it'd be kind of interesting to paint one up to see what it looked like. But you could just use the glass and get about 4 of these, and then use those mirror hangers like I showed you before, and hang them all together in like a quadrant, so that you have a giant dry erase board. And you could probably get them, if you find them at a thrift store or a garage sale, for about $5. If you got 4 of them, it'd only be $20, and you'd have one that's twice the size of any of them that you could find at any regular department store. And if the glass isn't quite the same size, you could cut it down pretty easily and make them all the same. I actually have a video that shows you how to cut glass. If you're interested in that, it's pretty easy. But anyway, I thought this turned out really cool, interesting little project, and a way to kind of repurpose a lot of those old picture frames that no one wants, and you see at thrift stores all the time. So hope you like this project. I think it turned out pretty cool.